Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Perspective with me, Julie Ali, and once again, I have an amazing guest in studio with me. She's here to talk about her life, her struggles, her challenges, and how, alhamdulillah, through the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she was able to overcome and just truly carve out a very special life for herself. And the reason we're saying for herself, it's also about her darling daughter. My guest is, in fact, Tasnim Jadwat. And we're going to be looking at her journey through motherhood and the emotional beginning that was about 16 or more years ago, where she's at now, and more importantly, her daughter Iman, who was born with a rare disease. So how does one even begin to make sense of something like that? And of course, when your child is born and put into your arms and you're told by the medical professionals that there might be a problem or there is a problem, and you look at this little innocent angel in your hands, in your arms, and you say to yourself, it can't be, because at that point, the little one looks like an angel and seems so perfectly formed. And that's when and how the journey begins, the trials, the tribulations, and more importantly, the support, and how it makes you a bigger and a better person. And it's all part of Allah's plan, and how you then go out and touch other lives in a very, very meaningful way. Assalamu alaikum to an amazing young lady, Tasnim Jadwat. Welcome to the show, and I'm so blessed to be having this interview with you today.
Wa alaikum salam. I'm so blessed to be here. Jazakallah for having me and giving us the platform to share our journey with you.
Subhanallah, it's about touching other lives, is it not? I mean, when your baby Iman was born, you probably thought to yourself, how am I going to cope? Why me? How am I going to make sense of this life of mine? How do I move forward? And all of those and a gazillion other questions. And here you are 16 years later, you are now an advocate for a rare disease called SMA. You've traveled the world literally giving talks, uplifting other people, and of course, trying to gain as much knowledge as you can regarding your daughter's condition. But you don't just leave it there. It's about sharing the information, the support, the message, and helping other families to circumvent the situation they find themselves in. When and how did reality set in for you? Was it, as I said in my introduction, that when this beautiful little perfect angel was placed in your arms?
So the day she was placed in my arms wasn't the day that we got a diagnosis. I remember looking at her and counting her fingers and toes, making sure there was, everything was...
All moms would do.
All moms would do, that's your biggest worry. She was absolutely perfect, alhamdulillah. There was no sign of any condition. My pregnancy was easy as well. At around 9 months of age, Iman started showing symptoms of developmental delays. So she started dropping her head. She started not being able to sit up. Being a first-time mom, I wasn't really looking for signs of, obviously a rare disease which I hadn't heard of ever in my life. And slowly, we got a diagnosis. A family doctor noticed a head leg, her just dropping her head at one of a family event. And from there we went to Durban. My brother-in-law is a pediatrician. He later had a look at Iman and he mentioned that she's extremely floppy. He looked really concerned. At that time, I still thought, maybe it's just something, she's lacking some nutrients, or, there's just something that we can do. You don't think of anything worse. He referred us to a pediatric neurologist in Durban. She assessed Iman and then she started mentioning terms like fasciculations, all this random medical jargon that we don't even know about, and low muscle tone, head lag, just twitching. And eventually, she didn't give an actual diagnosis. So she said she doesn't want to say anything until we do a blood test, and she wants to refer us to another pediatric neurologist, a senior neurologist in Pretoria. That night I went home in Durban. And, you know, just did an online Google search, and the letters SMA came up. SMA was, you know, something that was a rare disease, and it is a rare disease, which means that a gene is missing. But the worst part of Dr. Google is, you know, it tells you that your child is not going to live past the age of 2. I started seeing all these videos about kids just, you know, leaving their parents, just dying, not being able to breathe.
Despite this very gloomy diagnosis and what you were picking up from Dr. Google, obviously, did you still have hope, knowing that perhaps Iman's not going to be normal, and that for the rest of your life and for the rest of her life, you are going to be tied to her in 24/7 caring of this precious little child?
So based on what I saw online, you know, it really, the prognosis didn't look good. And I remember phoning my brother-in-law that same evening and saying, you know, what is SMA? What is this? And if she has this, she's not going to survive. And, you know, we just took it as is. I mean, I was devastated, obviously. My husband and I were both devastated, but nothing was confirmed as yet. And the worst thought I had was, okay, my child is going to be in a wheelchair. You know, I don't know how I'm going to deal with something like that. When we got back home, we went to Pretoria, and the doctor confirmed the diagnosis. I remember he wrote on the page, SMA. And I started asking him questions. How many months does she have left to live? So he asked me, he's like, how are you asking the right questions? I'm like, I told everybody she has SMA, and they don't want to believe me. And subhanAllah, you know, it was just at that moment in my mind, Iman started, like, I think she could sense, she was only 9 months of age, and she could sense that I was emotionally, you know, distraught. So she started clinging on to me, and in my mind I'm thinking, you know, but you're not Allah. I don't know. Those words just popped up in my mind. I'm looking at the doctor and I'm like, you are not Allah. You cannot, you know, say those things. The doctor got up, you know, he like just told us, okay, you know, take her home. There's nothing you can do. Don't vaccinate her. Don't do anything for her, basically. She's just got it has a matter of time. So the diagnosis was confirmed, and later went for bloods, for an EMG where they stick a needle into the muscle, you know, and the diagnosis was confirmed a few times. And yeah, that was the actual diagnosis. But the one person that really, you know, gave me the support was my mom. And she kept saying, you know, the doctor doesn't know if he has any time tomorrow, or if he's going to be alive tomorrow. So don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Life and death is in Allah's hand.
100%, 100%.
You told me off air that, alhamdulillah, your mom and your late brother were your greatest support structures through the early years of Iman's life. Very, very sadly, they're not here any longer. Can you tell us what happened with them?
So my brother was 43. He contracted COVID, and 3 weeks later he was gone. We lost about 6 family members in that space of time. My mom couldn't, you know, cope, so her body obviously gave in, and eventually she passed away 5 months after him. And losing both of them, you know, in such a short space of time, it really, you know, it really knocked me off my feet, in the sense that, you know, I'd totally given up on everything, because, you know, you have that support, and you think, okay, my child is going to die, and you've got all these people praying for your child, and suddenly they're gone. So that was very, very difficult to accept. But at the same time, after that happened, you know, it's at that moment, they always say it's at that moment when you completely surrender to Allah's will that miracles happen.
So how did all of this shape your perspective on life, knowing that you have a child with a rare disease, SMA, your greatest support structure, apart from your husband, obviously, your mom and your brother pass away during COVID? What were the thoughts going through your mind, and how did your perspective shift?
So it was devastating, but at the same time, you know, knowing that a disease like COVID randomly appears and, you know, takes people away, means that, you know, we all are fragile as humans.
Absolutely.
We all are completely fragile. We don't know when is our time, and it's only when your time is written. You will not live a second longer or a second less. So subhanallah.
Absolutely. Age, you know, you can't, you look at a sick person or a sick family or sick people, and you look at healthy individuals, but there's still no guarantee. Old people, young people, it's all in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. You describe Iman as your teacher. What are the greatest gifts that you've learned from her? how's that shaped your life, and how are you passing on those lessons to other people in similar situations as yours?
So Iman's always been a very positive individual. Even as a child, you know, growing up, sometimes I'd get frustrated and say, you know, this condition really like sucks, you know, Iman, it sucks. She's like, how can you say that something that Allah gave me sucks? So I was like, okay, you know, Iman, you're teaching me. She's also, I mean, she's in a wheelchair. She's in a motorized wheelchair, which gives her independence. She does online schooling. She's independent as possible. But, you know, she's never let anything stop her from doing whatever she wants.
Just before we go to the ad break, let's ask this question. I know she's achieved amazing things, and you're going to talk about that in a minute or two. But was she a difficult, demanding baby as she was growing up?
Not at all. Not at all. Alhamdulillah. You know, give her an iPad or sit with a book or switch on something for her, and she's fine. You know, she's always knows how to placate herself, I would say. Not difficult at all. In fact, my other two, it was actually more difficult looking after them.
Alhamdulillah, you've been blessed. We're going for an ad break. I'm talking with an amazing woman, a resilient woman, a fighter. She is Tasnim Jadwat. She's the mother of Iman, who suffers from MSA. We're going to talk about her journey through life and the lessons learned with Iman and the other people around her. Welcome back. On the show today, we talk about hope, we talk about resilience, we talk about courage, we talk about the sweetest of sabr for a mother with a child who is differently abled. My guest, of course, is Tasnim Jadwat, and her daughter is Iman, whom I believe is about 16 years old. We're going to be looking at access to treatment and advocacy and the long, hard battle regarding trying to source affordable treatment for a child, not only Tasnim Jadwat, but any child who is differently able, not only in South Africa, but globally. How does that picture play out?
So access is difficult. I mean, the first drug was approved by the FDA in America in 2016. And with a degenerative disease, time is of the essence. The sooner you treat the child, the better the prognosis, or the better the chance of saving the child's life. Unfortunately, you know, it took us a long while to actually access treatment in South Africa. Africa as a whole is often overlooked when it comes to accessibility of treatment. Iman was given a treatment through a clinical trial, which occurred over a year and a half, which meant trips up and down to Cape Town. The cost of drugs as well, cost of treatment. It's the most expensive drug in the world at $2.1 million. For a single shot.
So when you talk about those kind of figures, I mean, I'm horrified, but obviously because she was on a clinical trial, yes, that meant that you didn't have to fork out any monies. But it's also sad because you were lucky to get her into a trial. There are no guarantees with the trial either, but you kind of wonder for other families that are in similar situations. It says a lot about our pharmaceutical companies globally.
Definitely, definitely, without a doubt. So in the United States of America, that was one of our first places we accessed, you know, for information on her condition. After she was diagnosed, we did a trip to America, knowing there's a conference on the condition, to educate ourselves as much as possible on the way forward, basically. We were given no hope in South Africa, so we obviously had to look for alternative means. Whilst there, we learned there were a few drugs in the pipeline. So Iman was only like a year old at the time. But once the treatment was approved, accessing the treatment was so difficult, not just due to the cost, but also due, as you said, to pharmaceutical, you know, companies. The group in America was one of the first that actually funded the pharmaceuticals, or the researchers, I would say, into developing different drugs. Once the drug showed some progress, it's amazing how pharmaceuticals work. They, you know, obviously monopolize and take over the entire project and try to maximize and capitalize off the entire
bottom line.
That's
it's
it.
Really
That's how it works.
It's about profit,
That's
sadly, at the cost of our lives and our children's lives.
That's it.
Let's just, for the benefit of our viewers, understand what is SMA. Sure. And the lifespan, without being insensitive to you, but the lifespan with a child diagnosed with this condition.
So generally, or the used to be diagnosis, or SMA is a degenerative motor neuron disease, where there's a gene missing called the SMN1 gene. We all have the SMN1 gene. That's the gene that produces enough muscle building protein to give us the strength in our arms, in our bodies, in our fine motor skills. With someone with SMA, they don't have the gene, so as time goes by, they just deteriorate and get weaker and weaker. Generally speaking, there are 4 types of SMA, type 1s to type 4, depending on severity of the disease. Iman was originally diagnosed as a type 1, which later changed to a type 2. Type 1s used to generally not live over the age of 2. Why I say used to and generally is since the advancement of the treatments that have come about and people have started accessing it globally, that's changed the entire scenario of the disease. So, yeah.
You talk about it being a rare disease. Do you know, and I know that you follow all of the advancements regarding this particular disease globally. You attend conferences, talks, you do a lot of research on of your own, obviously, because you want to try and give your child the best chance possible as being as able as possible. So the question then begs to be answered is, what's her current condition like? And when she was initially diagnosed, when she was an infant, you were told that she'll only live up to the age of 2. She's already 16. What are the things she's able to and unable to do?
Sure. So at Iman, she's very intelligent. So kids with SMA, their IQs are generally higher. Stephen Hawking, I think you know the famous scientist, he was originally diagnosed with SMA and then ALS, and ALS is the adult form of SMA. So it's very similar in the way the disease progresses. Iman is able to do a lot of things. So she's online with schooling. She's in grade 8. She's doing quite well with her schooling. She does art, digital art with her fingers. So using her low muscle tone, she's become the sensational artist. You know, I can't even draw with a pencil, so I don't know who she fell on. Definitely not my genes for that particular part here. Alhamdulillah. And she's got a motorized wheelchair, which gives her the independence to do her own things. You know, she drives around. She has a full-time assistant, so she's always busy in the kitchen, making her own, concoctions and coming up with funky recipes. Iman does a lot. She does a lot. Her muscle.
So she has a very round and well-balanced life.
She does.
Because you also shared with me about a special cake mix.
Yes.
Tell us about that as well.
So she decided to do a cake mix, which would, you just have to put it in the microwave and you'd get a cake in like 2 minutes. You know, everything is quick and easy for. And she sold over to the value of 5,000 Rand and donated that money to Rare Diseases South Africa. So she's done quite well with, her entrepreneurial aspect of her life. I got her recently a Cricut machine, to do laser cutting. So she wants to start selling mugs and T-shirts and, raise funds for the condition and to donate and help others.
What are the type of conversations you have with her regarding her condition, regarding her lifespan? Because as difficult as it is, she sounds like a very well-balanced and a highly intelligent young lady. And just to add, we also know that despite what doctors tell us, it's all life and death is all in Allah's hands. Just look at Stephen Hawking. Yes. He lived to a ripe old age and he achieved so much in life. So talk to us about those conversations regarding life, death, future, if you're around, if she outlives you. They're difficult questions. People would avoid them, but you need to have them.
So we do have those conversations. In fact, we have a lot of conversations. She's always, giving me insight. She's my best friend, basically.
Wow.
And alhamdulillah, I never ever tried to stop her or make her think that, she's completely different. Look, she's differently able, like we said, but she can live her life to the fullest, and she is doing that. So she wants to be a scientist when she grows up. She's quite set on that. I'm always trying to push her into art because she's so good at it, and she's like, no, that's just my hobby, But she's now also involved in the SMA Europe youth group. So I'm always trying to encourage her. I'm like, I'm getting older now. You have to start taking over and start doing advocacy, start speaking up for yourself, be a voice for yourself. And in terms of, what the future holds, I mean, we all don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. So, she's always trying to look at different things for her future as well. She wants to finish school. She wants to study. She wants to change the world in her way. I was at the SMA conference in America last week, and on stage there were adults with SMA who've had 2 children in a wheelchair. The sky's the limit. It's we that put these restrictions and hold ourselves back, our minds that hold ourselves back to what we can actually do. So it's taking what you do have and making the most of it.
So you spoke about people with SMA, adults who are in loving relationships, who've had children themselves.
Yes.
Does that type of conversation, has that happened with you and Iman?
Yes.
And how do you respond to something like that? And having said that, do you know of other people in South Africa in the same situation as she is, or similar?
Yes. And
does she have a network of friends then?
She does. She has a lot of international friends, and then she's got family, cousins, sisters, which help her. And as she's on online schooling, the reason why she does online schooling is so she doesn't get sick. But yeah, she does have, and we do have that conversation. In fact, she has mentioned she wants an Italian husband. That's a chef.
Subhanallah.
Yes. So I think
Inshallah.
from that perspective, I think we sorted out.
Inshallah.
My Italian son-in-law one day.
From your lips to Allah's ears. The greatest lessons that you've learned from your differently abled child who's 16 years old, a young adult, she has the world at her feet. Those lessons, and what do you make of them? But I'm going to have to ask you to respond after the ad break. My guest is the amazing Tasnim Jadwat. She's the mother of a differently abled daughter who is now 16 years old in a motorized wheelchair, and this amazing young lady is called Iman. What a beautiful name. Iman, we put in Allah's hands through faith, through deep Iman and sabr. Anything and everything is possible. We're talking about the life of Iman, and this isn't only Iman Jadwat in South Africa, it's the Imans all around the world. How they touch our lives, how they turn initially our lives upside down, but who's to say that the upside down is not the right way to be living? And how we learn from them, how we move on, and how we make sense of the world around us. Must have been quite a lesson for you, a life lesson.
Definitely. And still, every day is a lesson, Just looking at her, using whatever she does have to make the most of life. It's really humbling. We don't appreciate, being able to lift our hand up or lift our head up in the morning, get up and use the bathroom on our own. It's the small things, we just overlook it. And, she really teaches us that, you need to appreciate everything that Allah has blessed you with.
Have you or Iman ever asked the question, why me?
So I have asked that question, naturally as a human, you think, there's so many people in the world. What makes you the one that has a child with this rare condition? And it's only when you are blessed with a child with a rare disease or rare condition that you actually, learn about other conditions. And then you think, okay, why me? But then it could have been worse. So, alhamdulillah.
And the lesson there obviously is that nobody's life is happily ever after, is it?
No, that doesn't exist. Not in this dunya.
No, we all have our challenges and our tests. It's really about Allah bringing us closer to Him. Let's talk about Cure SMA South Africa. And if you were in a room with the Health Minister of South Africa or with the CEO of a large pharma, what would you say to them?
So definitely we need access to treatment in South Africa. A clinical trial is good. One drug has been approved, but Africa as a continent needs to be looked at completely differently to the rest of the world. We are poorer as a continent, and we cannot afford, a drug that costs $2.1 million or a recurring drug that costs $125,000 per shot, which you need for the rest of your life. It's almost impossible, if not possible at all. Having a drug available and having access to it are two completely different things. We have members in our community that have passed on due to not being able to access the drug in time. Iman's been fortunate, alhamdulillah, everybody's lifespan is written. But, not being able to help others as well, it's very, very disheartening. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking in the sense that we've lost so many that could have been saved. That in
Having been blessed with a child with SMA has really taken your life in a totally different direction, both you and your husband. When you married him and when you were pregnant with Iman, I think you've had dreams and wishes and hopes for so many different things in your life. And Iman being born has just changed the trajectory. She's put you on a path to food as healing and, of course, your culinary journey, which I think, had she not come into your life, would never have been a possibility. Talk to us about it.
So Iman's a very fussy eater. She has her steak medium rare, so you can understand. She knows exactly what she wants, when she wants it. She was about a year, well, she started talking very early, so about a year and a half, when she, I'm sure you're familiar with kause, the dish kause.
Of course.
Iman's favorite dish,
Okay.
and you know, at night she'd say, I want kause, and I'm like, Iman, I'm not going to go down in the kitchen and make kause for you. And she'd be like, Mom, you know, when I'm older and my kids ask for kause in the middle of the night, I will make kause for them. So she has a very refined palate, I would say. She loves, mixing her food, fusion foods, adapting food, like how she's adapted. You know, it's almost a parallel if we look at it. And she's always pushing me to try out new things. So I think I've become more like her hands and her mind. She's giving me these ideas to try out different things due to how we've adapted with her life as well. And that led to, you know, a food blog, which was a form of therapy for me in the sense I just, you know, enjoyed myself talking. My media background came out into that, being at home, not, you know, like COVID, everybody became chefs or bakers. So imagine the same thing, you know, with a rare disease like SMA, where you're trying to protect your child at all costs from getting sick. We started doing recipes, and, you know, being at home, you have to make food. So yeah, just like creating recipes that would suit her palate and suit her needs. It led to much more things, you know.
Do you look at food, cooking, preparing food as therapy? Has it been therapeutical for you?
It has been, especially making bread or making the French macaron. So the French macaron was something that came out just after Iman was diagnosed. And getting it to perfection, I think that whole idea of getting that perfection, you know, getting that perfect macaron on the table was something that I just became obsessed with. And it took 18 attempts and not giving up to get to that place. And then that led to me learning other things.
So in a form, it was therapy, it was distraction,
so,
but you also obviously kind of got to a point regarding your culinary skills to the next level. And that then led you to the journey of MasterChef. How did that all start playing out?
So when MasterChef applications were advertised, my mom just passed away. My brother passed away, and then my mom passed away, and I was in a very depressed state, I would say, just overloaded with work. So applying for it, I didn't really think much of it. So I sent my submission in, and you know, I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. And then I got a call to say, okay, no, you know what, we want you to do an online interview because it was COVID, just to show some cutting skills. And we're not chefs, we're home cooks. MasterChef, a lot of people are under the impression it's, you know, you're a chef, but you're a home cook. You cook with love for your family. And yeah, one thing led to the next. We were called for auditions, and we had to cook within 30 minutes. We had to make a dish, a brunch dish for the auditions. There were 40 of us in total, and the dish turned out to be the best dish out of 40 contestants.
Wow.
But
what did you prepare?
I made, we were given a few ingredients and a basic, pantry, basic equipment. So I did a pap dish. I wanted it to be proudly South African as well, with a bit of curry, the yogurt curry. I did about 5 or 6 elements in the 30 minutes. Don't ask me how. It just, all happened. But I was chatting to a mom who started the Rare Diseases Group South Africa, and I was chatting to her, and I was saying, with a kid with a rare disease or a child with special needs, you're always given limited time to do something. So I think that, in a sense, trained me to just make the most of that actual moment, alhamdulillah. And also, I mentioned to Iman, she's always buzzing around with her wheelchair when I'm cooking. So having camera crew while you're cooking didn't distract me.
Wow.
So it really was a journey, I would say. And alhamdulillah, it led to being a contestant, having that whole experience of, you know, staying away from the family for 3 weeks, just having that time to.
So you stayed away from the family for 3 weeks on this MasterChef journey of yours. Who was taking care of Iman at the time, and what was uppermost in your mind whilst you were creating these amazing dishes? You're in a competition, you're competing not against other people, but really against yourself.
Yes. So my dad and my late brother's wife, we were based in Durban at the time because of the losses that were so close together. So my husband was very understanding in the sense he allowed me to stay with my dad, and then I decided to run away to Cape Town. But yeah, my sister-in-law helped me a lot. My sister is also based in Durban, and my dad did a lot as well. Iman has a full-time assistant who's well-trained to use her equipment to assist her with breathing in the event that she gets sick. My husband was available. But at the same time, you know, I kept worrying that, and I hope she's okay, I hope the other two are okay. But yeah, as you said, I was not competing against others. I was competing against myself. And having that opportunity and that platform to talk about her on the show was the cherry on the top, I would say.
She was your inspiration as far as MasterChef is concerned.
Definitely.
Talk to us about some of the unusual, amazing dishes that you prepared on the show and continues now to be hits all around our community and globally.
So alhamdulillah, in the second episode, I thought I was going to fall out, and you know, I had a mental breakdown, and one of the equipment, you know, it didn't switch on, and I thought it was on, and it was almost time to plate up the dish. And when I looked at the equipment, I saw the food was still raw inside. So it was 2 soups we had to create, and I was in a state of shock, and I broke down on TV. So that clip's on YouTube. And then I remembered Iman, and I said, if she's going to watch this and she's going to see that I'm breaking down and I'm giving up on something like this, you know, it mustn't obviously have a negative repercussion on her life. And alhamdulillah, I managed to pull out of that and just continue. And then I ended up getting the best dish, which was like a Asian broth, I think. Yeah,
when you say you pulled out of that, why were you not eliminated at the time? Because your soups were still raw.
So I wasn't eliminated. I managed to get out of my head and use other methods to prepare the dish in that short space of time. There was still a few minutes left, so alhamdulillah.
And did they give you allowance for the fact that the equipment was defective?
No.
Not at all?
No, it's very strict.
Okay. Time for another break, and then our final segment. The amazing Tasnim Jadwat talking to us about her life, how she copes with the challenges of having a child with SMA, a daughter, a young adult. She's 16 years old, and how Iman, having come into their lives, has just taken them on a totally different path, a life path, but the amazing journey that they are on right now. I mean, with having a child that is differently abled, she managed to go on to MasterChef South Africa, and that in itself, just being chosen, whether you eliminate it in the first or the last round, just being on the show is a huge achievement. We're going to talk about lots more coming up in the final segment. We're going to look at legacy, faith, and inspiration, and what makes you keep on going. Lots more to come. Please stay with us. Into our final segment with our guest, the amazing Tasnim Jadwat. She is the mother of a child suffering with SMA. She's not a child, she's 16 years old. And part of her journey with being the mother, a very resilient mother with a child who is differently abled, sent her to the MasterChef contestant kitchens. She's achieved much, but she also pays that tribute to her late mother. She lost her mother during COVID, and in this part of the interview, we're going to be looking at legacy, faith, and of course, inspiration. Her mom being one of her greatest inspirations, and of course, Iman, her daughter, who is suffering from this rare condition. They truly have shaped you, your life, and your outlook on life.
Definitely. So my mom lost her son when she was, the first son, when he was 21 years old. And, you know, her ability to continue, I think, really, you know, gave me that hope. And also when Iman was diagnosed, you know, there were times when I'd look at her and I'd scream at my mother and say, you know what, I think she can't, she's not breathing. You know, I'd look at, try to, because the doctor said she's not going to live very long, you'd think that, you know, the child's just going to collapse and die. But, you know, she was always there to tell me that, you know, you have to have your trust in Allah, and there's nothing that Allah can't do. You need to fully understand that. And she pushed me to be this person that I am today. You know, having that strong mother makes you a strong mother, I would say.
Absolutely. Has Imam helped you at all regarding your MasterChef journey? When you applied, and even though you've attributed this to your mom's inspiration, talk about some of the amazing recipes and things that stand out for you, not only on your journey through MasterChef, but your food blogging. You're still doing that, aren't you?
I do. I'm more into the advocacy now for the SMA condition.
All right.
But it became a part and parcel of that. So through food, we were able to talk about SMA and teach people about SMA. Whereas if you have a page just talking about the condition itself, nobody's going to really pay attention. So getting attention through the food, and then educating people on the condition, bringing Iman into the kitchen with me on certain videos, on certain vlogs, that's also helped. In terms of soji, that's where the journey started. So
a favorite of mine, by the way.
Oh, alhamdulillah. So Iman loves Nutella. She believes that's the cure for her condition, conveniently. She mentioned that, you know, why don't you try and make a Nutella soji? And we decided to incorporate Nutella into the soji. So now, I mean, if you go onto social media, everybody's doing fusion cooking. But at that time, it was something not so well heard of. And yeah, from Nutella soji, it went to watermelon soji, peppermint crisp soji. It's just been a soji journey, I would say. And it doesn't help that her surname is Kasuji. So yeah, that just added more flavor to the entire spice of life, I would say.
Let's look at the South African community, our Muslim community, and our people are very into food. And we've taken up on this food journey. It's become the thing. It's become the in thing for now. Where do you suppose this food journey is going to take us? Because had you not been involved in a blog that talked about food, you'd never have brought your daughter's condition to the rest of the world. And undoubtedly, the general public have supported you through it, and we've become aware and educated about the condition. So we're more sensitized.
So I think the public, yeah, they're definitely more alert and more interested in food, like you're saying. And it's definitely heading up, you know, the influencing sphere as well. When it comes to food in particular, we all have to eat. And there are so many ways to do a recipe. And adding your own personal element to any dish, you know, makes it unique. So encouraging people to cook and talk about conditions like SMA or other rare diseases or other important.
How do you weave it, or how did you weave it into your blogs and your videos, etc.?
So it started off initially as you know, as a fun thing, and slowly as Iman, you know, started wanting to be more involved in it. We showed them how, you know, being differently able doesn't mean that you can't do anything. You can do it in a different way. So, for example, if I made cheesecake and I needed the crackers to be cracked, Iman would, I'd put it in a Ziploc bag and she'd go over it with her power chair wheels. So, alhamdulillah, you know, she also likes to adapt recipes. So, like the Nutella soji or the multiple soji recipes, for example. Iman's always giving me these new ideas to just don't use the ordinary. Elevate it and make it something completely special and different, like her.
And she's obviously very into food, as is the rest of your family.
She is. She's my biggest critic. So is my dad. My husband as well. I think they've watched too many cooking shows. So, you know, anything I make, they'll be like, oh, this texture is not okay, or this temperature. But Iman's palate is very, very refined. So she knows what's good food. And that's a great guideline, you know. And because she's younger as well, she knows what's the latest trends, you know, how to incorporate that into a dish, how to make something really different, yet delicious at the same time.
What did you learn on your MasterChef journey, not only about yourself, but the dynamics within your own family and you and Iman?
So I learned that, being unique and being different is something that, we should celebrate, not try to shy away from it. My perspective on food or cooking, is influenced by Iman being different also. But I've always liked to be original with what I do. And that was greatly appreciated, A lot of times we have criticism within our own community. And then when you go out there, you actually learn that same criticism. It depends whose point of view it comes from. But I also learned that, you need to accept criticism in a certain instances and take that and use that and make yourself a better person.
Absolutely. We can't always be strong and smiling through every situation in life. You must have very dark moments oftentimes. It's only normal and natural. What is it that pulls you through those times, those very difficult moments when you kind of say to yourself, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, so I think the hardest thing with Iman especially, or, MasterChef was a great experience, but living with a child with a rare disease, the hardest thing as a mother was not being able to give her access to treatment, And since the clinical trial happened, I've become a lot calmer in the sense that, I feel like something was done. As a mother, you want to do something, like Bibi Hajra alayhi salam, when Ismail alayhi salam wanted that water and he was hungry and she ran from mountain to mountain. You'll do anything as a mother to make sure your child calms down and your child is satisfied or the hunger is, gone. And with Iman, that missing gene, getting that gene, the complete impossible. Just being a mother that wants to make that difference and having that yaqeen in Allah. Like I mentioned earlier, it was when I fully put my trust in Allah that everything opened up when it came to the clinical trial. So it was at the time when I lost my brother, I lost my mom, and, COVID was happening. And I was like, yeah, Allah, you do whatever you have to do. I completely surrender to you. And suddenly this clinical trial came up. So it was that the darkest moment. That was the darkest moment which I experienced. And, Iman got sick also shortly after. She was in ICU again. There's a lot of hospital visits with someone with SMA due to the nature of the disease. And yeah, there are dark moments, but, your faith really pulls you through. When Iman was 2, just to share with you, we went to America for the conference again. It was the second conference. And she picked up an RSV virus. She ended up in ICU and was ventilated. We thought she was gone. My dad, my mom, they were around. They were making funeral arrangements for her. That's how serious it was. We thought that was the end of her life and we were going to lose her. It was just before she turned 2. Like I said, they don't reach the age of 2. And wallahi, I always tell people the story because if you ever saw a miracle, it was then. Between my mother, my husband, and myself. My father couldn't sit in the hospital. It was too much for him. The 3 of us started reading the Quran in front of her. And suddenly she just started getting better from the first page till the last page, between the 3 of us. Allah is always there. In those darkest moments, He is always, always there. That's one thing that I've learned, alhamdulillah.
What is the advice you'd give to other mothers and other families who find themselves in a situation like yours with rare disease or any condition that their child or children are going through, and we don't have much time, so let's try and give a very succinct message to our audience.
So I always say, where there's Allah, there's always a way. And don't lose hope, don't lose faith. Inshallah, Allah will guide you through. The first thing to do is accept that this is from Allah, this is your test. And, you will find the way. Allah will make you find the way, inshallah.
Very quickly, where to from here for you as a mother and as a person in your own right?
So I'm currently studying a postgrad diploma in public health, so hoping to make a difference in that sphere of life. I'm not too sure about the food part of it, but inshallah, let's see how that goes. And Iman and I want to release a book soon, inshallah, with Soji and with her journey in the form of a story to educate children on rare diseases, inshallah.
And I look forward to that book, and
Inshallah.
many congratulations on your studies. Thank you indeed. Allah accept all of your efforts. And that's where we leave it. An amazing woman talking about her life and times, having been blessed with a child that is differently abled. At the age of 2, they were so certain that they were going to lose little Iman. Alhamdulillah, Allah has spared her. She is an absolute spark of light and love in their life. She is now 16 years old. She is in a wheelchair and studying online through Kurtuba. And of course, that indicates the sky is the limit. It is all the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you for watching. I do hope and pray that by way of this interview, you and I have taken away some very, very pertinent messages. Let us be in an attitude of gratitude. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. Till the next time, as always, Khud Hafiz.